Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns Guitars, and today I've got something to show you that I am very excited about. I've got some really great sounding effects pedals from a brand that I would have never expected to make really great sounding effects pedals, okay? These are from Musiclily. Now, full disclosure, I've tried Musiclily stuff in the past, mainly cheap hardware in hopes that it would be a good value, and I've been disappointed more often than not. So I wasn't super excited to try out these pedals, but this is the new Musiclily Pro line of pedals, and I'm certainly glad that I did because they are way better than I expected, especially for the price. All these pedals come in at about $30 to $35. So if you want to learn more about these pedals and hear a brief sound demo of each one, stick around. I'm Dan, this is Guns Guitars, let's get started. Alright, we're just going to get straight into it. The first pedal that we're looking at today is actually the cheapest one in the bunch. This is the Musiclily Pro Compressor, and this pedal will run you about $30, and honestly, it should cost you a lot more than that. In fact, I think it should probably be the most expensive pedal out of all of these because, in my opinion, this is one of the best. In fact, it's probably tied for first, in my opinion, out of all these pedals. Oftentimes, beginner and intermediate level players don't bother with compression, and that's a huge mistake, okay? Us sort of amateur players are the ones that will benefit the most from it, and that's why I love playing with compression. Not only can you use it to fatten up your tone, but it evens out your dynamics so you sound like less of a sloppy player, okay? I benefit from this probably more than anybody else. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you some examples of how I use a compression pedal, and make sure you're wearing some good earphones because the difference is gonna be very subtle, but you'll notice how it just smooths out my dynamics and makes me sound like a less sloppy player. Absolutely in love with this compressor pedal, especially because when you push it hard, it doesn't get more noisy like you normally get with a cheap compressor pedal. I mean, this thing is right on par with compressor pedals that run like 2 to 3 times the price. And the reason why I wanted to start with this pedal is because you're gonna hear this pedal a lot as I demo the rest of these pedals because I like compression that much, and it plays really well with the rest of these pedals. All right, next we're gonna have a look at the Musiclily Pro FUZZ pedal. And this is a really great sounding fuzz pedal, and I love a good fuzz, but before I demo it for you, let's talk about the construction on these. These are definitely built to a much higher quality standard than Musiclily's other pedals. Okay, first of all, it's a full-size pedal instead of the cheap little mini pedals that you're used to seeing. And second of all, the switches that they're using for these things, you can tell by manipulating them that they are a much higher quality, especially these potentiometers for your adjustment. They have really smooth adjustment, but there is actually quite a bit of resistance on it, okay? You can't just like flick it and fling it around, okay? It's very deliberate making adjustments, which makes it really easy to make sort of fine adjustments on the fly without worrying about knocking all the rest of your settings off. These are all a true bypass design, which is awesome. Until you get, say, 3 or 4 true bypass pedals all together, then you need a buffer. Now, I've got some recommendations down in the comments for a cheap buffer if you don't already have one, but for me, my 20-year-old Boss Tuner pedal has a buffered bypass, and it works beautifully with these pedals. But probably the feature that really popped out at me the most, that these are sort of designed for more professional players, is the placement of the 9-volt power supply. Now, it comes with a little adapter so you can use a 9-volt battery, so you can't unscrew this thing and put a 9-volt battery in it. In my opinion, that's better because you can change your 9-volt battery easier when it's outboard like that, but it's obviously meant to be used with a pedal power supply, and the fact that they put it there underneath your output jack tells me that they really thought carefully about how this might look on a pedal board. It's really awesome being able to feed your power cable up through the bottom and your audio cable up through the top for a nice, clean looking pedal board. Now, having said all those things about the layout and the high quality construction, I do have one beef with this thing, and it seems to be a quality issue on every single one of these cables. And that's that if you look closely at the power supply, it doesn't really line up properly with the hole. It's off by a little bit, which makes it really easy to not quite plug in the power all the way. Because it's a little bit off, you feel like it clicks in and it works until it wiggles a little bit and falls out. You really have to kind of cram it in there. There's a little extra friction because of the fact that it doesn't line up properly. Now, Maybe that was purposeful because once you do get it in there, there is a lot of extra friction, making it more difficult for it to come out, which is a good thing. But I doubt that that was intentional. I think that was an accidental benefit. Okay, enough about the features and construction. Let's hear this fuzz pedal. It's got two settings, the normal and the special setting. I personally prefer the special setting, which is what I'm gonna show you, because I feel like it has a little bit more bite and it really cuts like a buzzsaw. Isn't fuzz just so much fun to play with? Okay, I'm keeping these demos short because we've got a lot to go through, and honestly, each one of these pedals could probably deserve an entire video of its own, but I'll tell you why I'm sort of rushing through this review in just a little bit. The next effect that we're looking at is the analog delay, the AD01. Now, again, this is one of those pedals that is priced way less than I feel like it is worth. And even though I have a really good quality digital delay, a really good quality analog delay goes a long way, again, into covering up your sloppy playing. Now, a lot of people think that delay exaggerates sloppy playing because if you play a wrong note or something, then it just keeps repeating it. But analog delay is a little bit different. It's not really an exact delay in that it doesn't repeat the exact note the exact same way every single time. It sort of mutes and muffles it, and what it does is, again, it kind of evens out your dynamics. So if you play a note a little bit shorter than you anticipated, or if your attack was a little bit off, is a little too hard or a little too soft, then the delays here are sort of going to smooth out your playing. And it, honestly, again, for amateur players, it gives me more time to get my fingers to the next note without feeling rushed that I'm going to be cutting the previous note short. So I love a good analog delay pedal, and this one sounds great. Now again, like the compressor pedal, you're going to hear this a lot as I demo the rest of these effects. Now, speaking of using delay with other effects, we'll go ahead and move on to the chorus pedal, okay? This Musiclily Pro chorus pedal is one of the best sounding chorus pedals that I've ever heard. And I don't just mean for the price. I mean, period. Okay, this thing sounds better than any chorus pedal that I've ever had that costs 2 or 3 times the price. There are 2 settings on it, normal and special. Normal is what you'd expect from a normal chorus pedal, and the special really warms up the sound and kind of thickens up the bottom end a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop praising this pedal and let you guys decide if you think it sounds as good as I say it sounds. I could listen to that chorus pedal all day. In fact, I sort of got caught in a dreamy loop when I was testing it out. And like 45 minutes later, I was like, holy smokes, I need to play with these other pedals. Now, I mentioned earlier how I'm sort of rushing through these demos, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I like these pedals so much, I asked Musiclily if they would be willing to sponsor a live giveaway so I could get some of these pedals into your guys' hands. So this Thursday, December 9th, I'm going to be doing a live stream giveaway, just like I've been doing on my channel, where you guys are going to have the opportunity to play some games and win these pedals. And the grand prize is going to win all of these pedals that I have here, also including a Musiclily power supply. Now let's talk about this power supply real quick. Firstly, it's very quiet. Even when powering all of these pedals on my pedal board, I don't hear any noise coming from this. Secondly, in addition to having 6 100 milliamp outputs for your standard pedals, it has 2 additional high current 400 milliamp outputs. And not only that, it also has a 12 volt output and an 18 volt output. So if you have pedals that aren't 9 volt that require 12 volt or 18 volt power, you can still power them with the same power supply. And lastly, it also has a USB output on it. So if you use an iPad or your phone for lyrics or music when you're on a gig, you can keep it charged plugged into your pedal power supply. That is super cool. And look at how small it is, okay? You can just tuck this thing right under your pedal board and nobody will ever even know it's there. Did I mention that that's also going to be included in my grand prize giveaway of all these pedals that I'm demo-foring you today? Yes, that's the reason why I want to get through all these pedals today, is so that you can hear them before you win them on Thursday, December 9th. So make sure you're subscribed, click that bell notification so you know the moment that I'm going live. And I'm doing it on Thursday this week because a lot of you complained last time that I did it on Wednesday and you guys have Wednesday night obligations. So I'm trying to get more people into the mix for winning. Okay, moving on, we're gonna look at sort of the more crunchier effects on this pedal board right now. And we'll start with the Super Overdrive. Now, this is a great sounding overdrive in that it sounds really good when you have the drive turned nearly almost all the way down. So this first demo, I'm running it at about 10%, and then I move it up to 50%. Beyond 50%, I feel like this pedal really just kind of starts sounding less like an overdrive and more like a distortion. Okay, I think they probably could have spread that drive out a little bit more and kind of decrease the headroom on it just a little bit, because it does start getting a little less crunchy and a little more fuzzy, which is not really how I want to use an overdrive. And for $33-ish, I think this is a great value. But I am going to level with you. I think a better option is the Joyo Maximum Overdrive. Now, that pedal does cost twice as much at about $60, but being that that pedal is a clone of the Full Tone Full Drive 2, I think it actually is twice as good of a pedal for twice the price. But if you don't have that in your budget, this is an excellent budget-friendly alternative. And like I said earlier, really high quality construction, and this one will definitely serve you well. All right, our next to last pedal that we're gonna look at can be best described as a Marshall in a box, and you can tell just by looking at it that that's what it's supposed to be. This is the English Distortion, and this gives us that sort of classic Marshall high gain tone. It chugs really, really well. Of course, add in a touch of delay, and you can come up with some really cool chugging riffs. Now, I didn't mention up until this point what sort of amp simulation I'm using to demo these pedals, and I am using the Big Tweed amp simulation that you can get in Logic Pro, and I'm using it on just a really low gain clean setting, and you can see how it sort of transforms that vintage tweed tone into that classic Marshall tone. So, very cool pedal. And if you could guess by looking at the last pedal what kind of amp distortion it was, you could probably guess by looking at this one, okay? This is the DT02. It's named after me, Dan Thompson 02. Just kidding. No pedal will ever be named after me because I'm like the world's most mediocre guitar player. This, to me, sounds an awful lot like that American high gain that we all know and love from Mesa Boogie. And if you back off the bass a little bit, it really tightens up. You can get some really good sort of chuggy, genty sort of sounds. Well, you probably could. I can't. I'm doing the best that I can for you. Probably what's coolest about this is when you add in some of that analog delay, you can get some really hot mealy sort of licks. Very good sounding distortion pedal. I'm happy they chose to name it after me. So if you guys agree that these pedals sound a lot better than the price, let me know in the comments. And don't forget that live stream on Thursday at 5 p.m. Arizona time. Make sure you're subscribed and click that bell notification so you don't miss when I'm going live, because I really am excited to give away some pedals to you guys. So make sure you're there. All right, I'm Dan. This is Guns and Guitars, and I will see you in that next video.